Okay, so almost half of women are apparently going to be childless and single by the year 2030.
Selfish our generation of women are who've decided to not have children.
So no, that single women without children are like the happiest demographic in the entire country.
So this first popped up on my page because another woman was responding to this, and she said that when she posts content like this, men will say you're delusional or have fun dying alone. And I was like, that is so telling for why a lot of men have children. It's so someone else will have to take care of them when they're older. I saw a statistic that said men that have daughters live longer, and I was like, yeah, we put the responsibility of caretaking onto women, and then we guilt trip daughters into taking care of their parents. That's basic math, bro. I challenge a lot of men to question why they want children. Like, what do you want children for? Because if it's only so you have someone to take care of you when you're older, that is selfish as fuck.
This trend of childless by choice women who are ranting about how great their life is without children and how...
Listen, I have 3 kids of my own. First one was an accident. Second one was an accident. Third one was an accident. I love my children. I can't explain it, how I would literally die for them in a heartbeat. I didn't think I would ever love something so much. And I didn't even think I wanted to be a mom. And literally, I cannot imagine my life without them. But if you don't have kids, don't do it. Don't do it. I just got a notification on my phone that my bank account was overdrafted. So that's why.
At what stage does having children become worth it? Because I was with some friends the other day and they're all talking about their kids, how they love their kids. I'm the only one who doesn't have kids. I need to have kids. Then later on in the day, we were talking about what our dream day off would look like. And every single one of them they all go, grandparents take the kids for the day, and then I get to sleep in as late as I want. And then I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee and drink it in total peace, no interruptions. And then, I don't know, maybe go for brunch. And then I'm going to spend the afternoon at the beach, just laying out on the beach, no responsibility, no worries, just me and the sounds of the waves. And then I'll come home and just have a cozy night in, maybe order a pizza, watch a movie. And I was like, you guys are literally describing my life. Like, oh yeah, no, but kids. Like, no, like I literally do that exact day 3 or 4 times a week. Like, yeah, but we love our kids. You need to have kids still. Like, I'm living all of your guys' dream days. Why would I change that?
To stop preaching single motherhood to Black girls, and so many Black women came for me when
some of the worst advice I ever got in my early 20s was to just have your babies and get it out the way. Like, I was in a relationship at the time and I was in nursing school, and I feel like people was asking me more like, when you gonna have a baby, versus asking him when he gonna pop the question. Like, but it's like when you say, oh, I don't want to have a baby without a ring, it's like, oh, you bougie. No, I'm not bougie, but that's the standard. Stop acting like it's not. The fuck? Before I piss somebody off, there is nothing wrong with being a single mom. But as a young girl, as a young lady, like before the age of 25, most of those people are not planning to be single mothers. Now, it's one thing when you get in your 30s and 40s and you like, fuck it, I'm ready to have a baby with or without my man. Cool, do you. And the people who gave me that advice, or the people who was asking me questions about my uterus, were Black women who were also like young single mothers. Why would you want that for me? Do you hate me?
So I love this. Can you talk about why women seem to be much happier living single than men are?
Okay, no, but can we talk about this one, y'all? Because in my opinion, this is due to the fact that both women and males have been lied to for a very long time. For so long, women have been fed the romanticized view of marriage. For us, we are taught that to be someone's wife is the pinnacle of our identity. To be a man's wife is such an honor for a woman to have. That is, until women began to learn that wife really just meant being a glorified mother to a grown-ass man. And from watching these experiences, women have learned that marriage can lead to severe sacrifice for us. Whereas males have always been taught that marriage is the end of their life. Marriage symbolizes a loss of freedom, game over, and just the end of all things fun for males. All for males to get married and realize, wait a minute, I have a wife that's like a mom, but not my mom. Marriage gets me career and societal benefits. And so a lot of males have learned that they can gain a lot from being partnered and married. This is why I believe that so many single males project dying alone onto single women.
Hello. So the child-free ladies are speaking out and they're not holding back. I love that for us, because at this point, growing up in a Caribbean household, I think they believe that the woman's job is to bear children, get married, and have 3.5 kids and live happily ever after. But as someone who decided to not have children as of yet, I feel like it's kind of weird that people will be so into your business to ask you whether or not you're going to have children or when you're going to have children. I want to hear your thought in the comment below, whether or not you decided by choice to not have children or you're just waiting until you're ready, because at this point it's just too expensive to have kids. And at least for now, you know what I mean? Unless I found this partner who I feel is worth me having children with, I am not having children unless this happens. And if that does not happen, then so be it, because I love traveling. I love just waking up at any time of the day and doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And quite frankly, I think I'm just too selfish to have a kid right now, because I just cannot imagine me spending all of this money on a child that, you know, is probably going to take over my whole life once they get here.
Statistics show that the happiest people on earth are unmarried women who don't have children. And yet, isn't it interesting that society also tells us that the only thing as women that will make us happy is being married and having children? They have pushed this on us since we were born. Get married, have children. That's what it is to be a woman. That is your purpose. That's what will make you happy. That is the only thing that makes you happy. Otherwise, if you choose door number 2, not having children, not being married, then you're a spinster, then you're a crazy cat lady, then you couldn't find a husband, then you weren't good enough, you must be barren, you must be selfish. And yet statistically, those are the happiest people on earth.
Having kids made you feel like a real woman? That's a pretty extreme way to affirm your gender.
So I'm a content creator, and a few weeks ago my video on being child-free and single went viral, mostly because it was me on a plane in business class toasting with my friend and just enjoying just life and the fact that I have no responsibilities. Anyway, recently it's been posted onto different Instagram pages, and I found that a lot of the comments have been basically aimed towards saying things like I'm bragging, that if I'm so happy being child-free in this season, then why do I feel the need to post about it? And number 3, a lot of people are just saying that I'll be childless, lonely, and die alone. Now, I wanted to talk about, number 1, this whole bragging thing. Let's actually look at what bragging means. Okay, so to talk boastfully, to assert boastfully, and let's look at the examples, because that's where the real kicker is. Always bragging about his success, bragged that she was the fastest runner on her team. Oh, I think that bragging thing is very much a telltale sign that I'm living something and I'm experiencing something that they kind of want and don't have. And aside from the capitalism and the luxury aspect, I mean, I work very hard for my job. I've been in this industry for 10 years. But aside from that, if you look at the examples of bragging about your success and bragging about being the fastest runner on the team, those are things that people covet, that people want, and certain people don't have. And I think a lot of this child-free discussion, when it comes to, oh, you're bragging, is inferring that you want something that some child-free people do have. Number 2, I really wanted to talk about this whole thing of like, oh, silent happiness. And if you're so content being child-free and single, why do you need to feel the need to boast about it? Which completely ignores the fact that when people get engaged, they post their engagement pictures. When they're getting ready for the wedding, they post that they're looking for their wedding dress. They also post the rehearsal dinner. They post the wedding and the outfits, the reception dress. They post their beauty routine. They post the makeup. They post the bridesmaids on their bachelorette trips, they post their stag do's. So we can celebrate all of these things, not to talk of people posting their children's birthdays, their children's first days of school, their children's first steps, their children's first words, children's first holiday. They can post all of these nuggets and moments of happiness, but when single people and child-free people do it, it's kind of like, be quiet. And it's so interesting because it means that certain types of life choices are to be celebrated and certain types of life choices aren't to be celebrated, and they're not to be talked about, they're not to be posted about, because if you're so happy about it, you should be quiet. It's giving hush hush, and it's, if I'm honest, it's giving a little bit of resentment, but I'll leave that for y'all to discuss.
So why are single by choice women such a threat to men? So this woman travels, posts videos of herself traveling. She's basically minding her own business. She's not saying anything about men, and yet she gets scores of negative comments, many of which talk about her being easy or how she's going to end up miserable. But nobody asked these guys, why do they feel so much like they have to share? And I would say that single women are a huge threat to men more than ever. Why? So the idea of a spinster is actually pretty old, and it comes from the idea of spinning wool. And this was a kind of labor that often was done by single women. All right, so spinster, 23 to 26, Thornback, 26 to 29, Venus Athrap, 29 to 35. But why would women, and these are historical terms for single women, but in general, why were women single? There were a lot of reasons for women to be single. Sometimes they were the youngest child and they had to care for the parents. Sometimes they went to a religious convent, and so they were single. Sometimes they couldn't marry because then they would lose their family's holdings. But historically, women could be single, and there were spaces in society for them. But as we've moved to a more secular society, so it's not like you're going to a nunnery, and as we've moved into a society where women can choose if they want to get married, the percentage of single women has increased. And that was already starting in the Victorian era. And this article was a question, why are you single, in a newspaper. And these are some of the answers. Of all the men alive, I have never yet beheld that special face, which I could fancy more than any other. Because I do not care to enlarge my menagerie of pets, and I find the animal man less docile than a dog. Because I have other professions open to me in which the hours are shorter and the work more agreeable and the pay possibly better. Because men, like three-cornered tarts, are deceitful. And a lot of those Victorian sentiments about men are still true. Like, if you read people talking about their Tinder dates, there's still a lot of the same issues. But now in society, women can make their own money, have their own property, have their own bank accounts, have their own credit cards, and they do not need men. And all of these comments are a man who is threatened by a woman being strong enough not to need them. And it makes me say, how weak are these guys? What are they lacking that they're scared?
Someone just told me to hurry up and have kids before it's too late. Too late for what?
No, us child-free women are not going to do that. The reason why some men and some women are so pressed about us child-free women having babies is because misery loves company. There are a lot of men who are so used to seeing their mothers struggle and taking care of business that they're not used to seeing a woman out there enjoying her life and not being bothered. And that's a scary thought to them. If she's not using her time to take care of these kids, then she has free time to topple the patriarchy. There are some women with kids who look at child-free women with jealousy. These mothers are looking at their own lives and situations and they feel like they've been bamboozled. So they gaslight child-free women, telling them that you need kids to fulfill your life. You're not going to feel like a complete woman unless you have kids. Anything so that these child-free women can be miserable right along with them. If you really want to have kids, make sure it's your decision, because all these people telling you that you need to have kids, they're not going to take care of you.
I actually had someone who I used to go to church with who literally reached out to me on Facebook asking me, when am I going to have children? And it's a man too. First of all, sir, that is not your place. And secondly, it is my business to decide whether or not I'm going to have children. You don't know if I had some health issues or if I'm going through something or if I've just chosen not to have kids. His thing was, are you going to ever, stop traveling and have children? did I say I wanted to stop traveling? And even when I stop traveling, I want to be in a part in my life where I'm able to hire a babysitter so I can have, that free time for myself so I can travel, because I just love traveling and I just don't see myself stopping my life right now just to have kids, especially because I have not met the person who I feel is worthy of me giving birth to or going through that trauma and ruining my body to have a child for. So
The happiest people on earth are unmarried women who don't have children.
Why are unmarried, childless women so happy? Let's talk about it. A professor at the London School of Economics found that these women had a couple of reasons for why they were so happy. The first was that they had really strong bonds with people outside of their romantic relationships, meaning they had friends. Secondly, they also had more control over their time. They had more control over their lifestyle. The study also found that men do incredibly well when they're married. Married men showed really high levels of life satisfaction, and they did better health-wise, mentally and physically, and emotionally. Whereas women who were married and had children did not. What's up with that discrepancy? One of my theories is that women tend to run a household alone. A lot more women are working a full-time job and they're also taking on household work. There's also social network erosion. We're lonelier than ever before. We might feel unsupported and unfulfilled.
Research center just came out. It was actually pretty shocking. Majority of childless adults younger than 50 cite that they just don't want to have kids. 44% of childless individuals 18 to 49 say it's unlikely they will ever have children. Our civilization will collapse, and now it's here. It's here in America. We are below replacement value. Pro-choice and pro-life Americans should agree that we generally need to create and promote the creation of new human beings.
Hey there, child-free by choice and unapologetically pro-choice woman here, and it seems we need to get a few things straight. I hate to break it to you, but people not wanting to procreate is not the reason why civilization is going to collapse. In the US, it's actually because Republican nitwits rail against any effort or legislation towards addressing the #1 existential crisis facing civilization, which is climate change. And let's not forget that y'all are also to blame for driving whatever semblance of democracy America once had toward absolute ruin because you're busy trying to stop black folks and young people from voting. And you want to completely erase the division between church and state because a drag queen read a book to a kid once. And you're unable to live in a reality where you don't get what you want, so you peddle conspiracy theories about stolen elections. And you happily gerrymander states until they are so contorted they look like they've been to the same plastic surgeon as Ben Shapiro. All this has absolutely eroded faith in America's institutions and any hope that we would ever live up to any democratic ideal that we were supposedly founded on. But let's get to the procreation bit specifically. From a purely personal and practical standpoint, I am a grown adult human being, and I should be able to do whatever I want with my own life as long as I'm not hurting anybody. And what I currently like to do with my own life is not having to spend any part of my day worrying about being covered in human fecal matter. Or how I'm one false move away from stepping on a Lego that will absolutely decimate my ACL and turn me into one of those people that has a trick ankle that tells me when it's about to rain. And it's true, as you say in your podcast, I am one of those people that likes to hike and hang out with my dog, which are apparently just some of the wild things that people without kids like to do. As if they're somehow akin to something horrific like, oh, I don't know, making absolutely certain that every day our children will die because someone brought an AR-15 to school. All because you don't want to take away your hubby's right to carry a gun so he can deal with his chronic and debilitating small dick energy. And honestly, it sounds like you're kind of projecting the fact that you sometimes regret bringing 4 screaming, sticky children into this world. Meanwhile, I get to do things like read in complete silence and watch TV shows that aren't Coco Melon. If you want more people to have kids, maybe you should try advocating for things that would actually help with that, like universal health care, federally mandated paid family leave, common sense gun control, fair wages, social safety net programs, and other practical legislation that would actually make it feasible to raise kids in this country. You might also want to start caring about the fact that the US has one of the highest maternal mortality rates of all developed nations. And this is because we don't have enough maternity providers like midwives. We have shit access to proper postpartum support, and women are going back to work 2 weeks after they've been literally torn apart. And racist fucking doctors don't believe black women when they say they're in dire medical need. Nah, you'd rather advocate for forced births so that capitalism can continue to run amok with a never-ending supply of cheap labor. And so fundamental Christians can have more people to indoctrinate. After all, the poorer and more helpless people feel, the more desperate they'll become. So much so that they'll say, hey, maybe a magic man in the sky can really solve all my problems, instead of recognizing the fact that organized religion is just another for-profit corporation who doesn't give a fuck about them. What's shocking isn't the fact that more and more people are choosing not to have children. It's that people like you want to bring more children into this dumpster fire dystopia of a country that either completely abandons them once they're born or wants to control so much of their lives that it's going to tell them where they can go to the bathroom and what they can do with their own body parts. I don't know about you, but it doesn't exactly sound like the land of the free.
Selfish our generation of women are who've decided to not have children.
So earlier this year, I was in Paris, and for this specific trip, because I went to Paris a few times this year, but this one, it was in the summer, and it was so hot. I was at the Louvre, and I needed to sit down and just chill out, and the only bench that was available in the shade was next to this woman with this huge white dog. So I asked her if I could sit down. She says yes, and we just get talking. So she asked me, like, what brings you to Paris? And I tell her, like, I'm a travel creator, you know, I'm American, and I like go different places and create content about different destinations. So then she started asking me, you know, different questions, like, how does it work? And, you know, like, how did I even get into this? And it was fine. Like, it was a casual conversation. People ask me this all the time. Then she tells me that she was sitting on the bench because her family was in the Louvre and, you know, they couldn't bring the dog in. So she was like, okay, I'll just sit out here. And she decided to be a mom pretty young. So she had 2 kids and she never really traveled as much as she had wanted to. The time that she had kids, everyone else had kids. So it seemed like it was, you know, the right thing to do. She was like, now that she's older, like she wants to travel, but at this point is like a little scared because, you know, she's obviously older and like can't do the same things that she used to be able to do when she was probably like my age. So naturally she asked me, you know, did I want to have kids? And I was like, oh no, like it's not for me, but you know, I do want a dog. So then I started asking her, like, what is it like to have a dog and travel with your dog? So, you know, we're talking back and forth. It was a very nice conversation. She was very sweet. Her family was super nice because I met them after they came out of the museum. But what I liked about the conversation was that she wasn't pushing any of her motives or beliefs onto me as if I had to make the same decisions that she was making. And I respect the mothers who will just lay it all out, make it very plain and clear for anyone. Because if you think about it, there is no reason for you to criticize someone else for not making the decisions that you made if you are happy with the decisions that you made. The women that the original creator was talking about are very obviously projecting, and sweetie, we can all see it.
Why are mothers so triggered by people that don't want kids?
Child-free woman coming at you. I think there's a couple things at play here. Women are raised to accept that they will one day be a wife and mother, and that it is somehow our gift to the world. This is not my belief, but I have friends who truly do believe that they were meant to be mothers. I don't share that. I've never felt that. But socially, there is a pressure that you are expected to get married and have babies. That's just what you're supposed to do. So when women disobey this sisterhood, it's alarming to the women that participate in it because many of them feel insecure and that it is an attack on them as opposed to, you know, motherhood as a whole or just freedom for women to do what the fuck they want. And then I think for some mothers, not all, they get into the true experience of motherhood, postpartum, marriage with kids, etc., and realize this isn't really the dream that society sold me on. What's up with this? So while many mothers won't admit it in this case, I think some of this is also jealousy of women without kids, jealousy to rewrite the narrative, to relive their lives, to live a life that they want to live as opposed to a life that they're expected to live. If you enjoyed this child-free rant, I'm also a sex educator, so follow me for more hot takes on relationships and social expectations of women.
Okay, so almost half of women are apparently going to be childless and single by the year 2030.
Dude, good for us, honestly. That's amazing. I love that he presented that article as if women becoming happier and more content with themselves is a problem we need to solve. And I think it's hilarious that all these grown men are so upset by this information that keeps coming out that women are becoming like happier being single and childless now. I want to talk about it today because that man rambled for almost 4 whole minutes and he did absolutely everything but understand the point. That yes, statistically, women are starting to poll as happier being single and childless. And there's a lot of reasons for these statistics coming forward, right? A big one is that we're not out here having to deal with the emotional labor of a relationship that never seems to be equally placed upon a man. But then you see all these men who, for some reason, can't wrap their mind around the fact that women are happy single. And that's because statistically, men poll as happier in a relationship. They're miserable without us. And so they do what this man did in his 4-minute long video and they get upset and they think they need to come in and save these women who aren't asking to be saved. And you know, they blame feminism, they blame women, they dance around the point entirely. They tell themselves whatever they need to rock themselves to sleep as they cry at night, completely missing the point and knowing that women are out here happy. We're just fine. And because you know what? Same. I make myself go on a date every like 2 to 5 months, you know, just to get back in there, give it a try. You never know what could happen. Maybe I'll meet the love of my life and everything will go amazing. But it's good to always put yourself back out there every once in a while to see. And it always ends up going one of 2 ways. First is that we're just not compatible, you know, totally normal, we move on. And the second one is if things work out, we get into a little relationship, right? It usually goes like the last boy I dated. We dated for 3 or 4 months and almost every day after work, I would go over to his house. And no matter how my day went at work, right, I would just be happy to be off and get to see him. But it wasn't the same for him. It seemed like he was never able to just leave work problems at work, which is fine, right? I'm always here to help, support, vent. But it started to feel like he was having a bad day at work almost every day. And then he would come home and kind of take it out on me. Like he would dump it all on me and then I would have to deal with fixing it. Or he would be starting arguments, you know, just whole bad mood vibes. It always became my emotional labor now too. And the thing is, the door never really swung both ways. I was always expected to be there to tend to all of his needs and whatnot, but he was never really offering the same thing to me. And I find this happens a lot in relationship with boys. One day I had an amazing day at work. I came home so excited and he just came and ruined my mood entirely. And that was the day I looked around and went, why am I putting up with this? I am raising a man who would not and does not do the same thing for me. And whilst there are some benefits to having someone around, right? I stayed this long. I was overall on a general baseline just happier being single. So now about a month or 2 into every relationship I have, I sit down and I have to ask myself, were you happier before this relationship started? And so far, mostly every time the answer has been no. It was way better being single. And certainly a lot less stressful than adopting a 27-year-old man-child. And y'all can keep making videos crying and trying to blame feminism and women all you want, but at some point you're gonna have to look inward. I also don't know why he brought money into it. In this economy, most people want a partner who makes more money than them. The last boy I went out with literally said he wants to be a stay-at-home dad and have his wife bring in all the money, and I get it.
Can all my women in their 30s tell me what it's like to not have kids?
Hi, I'm 33 and I have no kids. And I have no kids by choice. And I don't want kids. I personally don't think this creator did anything wrong having kids in her 30s. I don't think there is a perfect time to have kids. I don't think you'll ever be ready to have kids. As long as you wanted kids, then you're good. You're solid. The kids are going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. But me personally, I don't want kids. I've never wanted kids. You see my house, it's beige as fuck because I don't have kids. My dog, she's not here right now, but she's beige. She fits the aesthetic. I'm too selfish to have kids, plain and simple. I'm too selfish to have kids. And that's just because I was raised in a Latino household where I practically raised my brothers and sisters, including my mom. I raised her too. So I've been raising people my entire life. I don't want to do it anymore. My mom has scarred me from ever wanting children. My mom says that when I was like 15, or probably even younger, I always said that I don't want kids. I don't want kids. I can't imagine the life that I live now. And it's not like I do anything wild. It's not like a fucking going out every single day. I truly like my peace. My house is always quiet. Listen, when my sister, I have a 10-year-old sister. When my sister says, Vicky, I want to, but I'm not. Can you imagine if that was mommy? I simply can't do it. Shout out to all the mothers out there doing it, killing it, single mothers. I was raised by a single mother like you guys. You guys on the bomb.com. But me, simply, I could never do it. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I choose not to do it. I'm too selfish with my time. I don't care what the men on this app got to say. Oh, you look old. No man's ever going to want you anyway. I don't care. Pookie, I simply don't care. Look at me. I'm so happy. I can't do it, but it's not for me. My life's great, and I don't think women that have children, I don't think your life sucks. And I don't understand this beef between women that have children and women who don't have children. Like, you guys want to rave about your kids. I love that for you. I want to rave about the fact that I don't have kids and I never will. So I think we should just unite, love each other, say fuck them kids together.
Note to self, there is no reward for being the person who struggled the most to get to the top. Find the escalator, find the elevator, and hop on.
My mother could not get me to do that. She's been asking me for a grandchild, and you would think like she doesn't have any grandkids. She have like 6. Oh, no. She has 10 grandkids. I told her, you know what? If I don't have kids, I'm sure you won't notice because you have so many grandkids. But she got pregnant at 18, and the father of her son passed away at a very young age. But she was married 3 times after that because she was looking for someone to take care of her kids, and they were more than willing to take care of everybody and spoil her rotten, which is great. But getting pregnant at 18, why would you want that from me, ma'am? That's crazy. I mean, not getting pregnant at 18, I'm way past 18. But getting pregnant and not having someone there, why would you want that for me? Even though the guy was there and then he passed away afterwards, but I don't want that. I do not want that because raising children is not for the faint of heart. I have sisters who have children, and I have one who actually has kids when she was very, very young, and she can never go anywhere. She can never travel. She's always broke. There's like, it's crazy, and I'm not here for that. I'm not here to live that broke life. Let me be that rich auntie with a cat, with 5 cats if I have to. But I will bring gifts. I will meet for the holidays. I will bring my man whenever I want to. But I'll be the rich auntie. I prefer that. For now, at least. If I change my mind about having children, then I change my mind. I'm a woman. I'm allowed to change my mind. So, yeah.